Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a question that popped up recently, something a lot of folks are curious about.
Okay.
It's about the major challenges professors are up against these days in higher education.
Oh,
And
interesting.
honestly, it's a big one, so I'm really glad to have you here to help break it all down.
Yeah, no, it's a huge topic.
So the thing is, the original question is super open-ended,
Right.
doesn't actually list any specific challenges, just kind of throws it out there.
Hmm.
Which honestly makes sense, right?
It does, yeah.
I mean, where do you even begin with something this broad?
That's true. It is really broad. I think that open-endedness kind of reflects the reality of higher education, though.
In what way?
Well, it's always changing, always evolving.
That's true.
So the challenges professors face, they're diverse,
Uh-huh.
they're complex, and they're constantly shifting.
Okay, so that makes sense then.
Yeah.
But still, we need a starting point,
As
right?
we do.
Like, what are some of the big buckets we could look at here?
Well, we could talk about funding, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Resources,
Makes sense.
the workload and expectations on professors.
Right. I bet that's a lot.
It is.
Um, how about the students themselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, have their needs and expectations changed?
Huge changes there. Yeah.
Then there's technology,
Of course. Can't forget technology.
which is a whole other can of worms.
Really can of worms.
And honestly, we can't ignore the toll this all takes on the professors.
Absolutely.
Their mental health and well-being, that's got to be a factor.
A big one.
So, all right, let's dive into some of these.
Okay.
Let's start with the financial side.
All right.
I was reading something recently about how tough it is to get research funding these days.
Oh, yeah.
Like, grants are super competitive.
Extremely competitive. I mean, think about it. Some grant programs have success rates below 10% now.
Wow, that's rough.
It is. You could put years, literal years,
Yeah,
into developing a research project
right.
only to have it rejected again and again.
By funding bodies, yeah.
It's demoralizing, to say the least.
I can imagine that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
So what happens in those cases? Like, if you can't secure funding,
Right.
does the project just die?
Sometimes, yeah, sadly, it happens. Sometimes they might limp along, severely under-resourced.
Oh, that's got to be hard.
It is. I've even heard stories of professors,
Yeah.
dipping into their own pockets
Our own money.
to keep a passion project going.
Wow.
It's a tough situation,
Especially for, like, early career researchers, right?
especially for them
Just starting out.
trying to establish themselves. It's a
Mhm.
real uphill battle.
It makes you wonder how they have the time and energy for anything else.
I know, right?
Like on top of research,
Yeah.
there's teaching, grading,
Supporting student.
committees, all that stuff.
It all adds up.
Not to mention the pressure to publish.
Ah, yes, the publish or perish world of academia.
Right, that's what they call it, isn't it?
It's not just a saying.
Yes, it's a real thing.
It's a system.
Okay, so explain that a bit more. Like, how does that publish or perish thing actually work?
It's a system where career advancement,
Mm-hmm.
tenure, even just basic respect within the field
Wow.
often depends on publishing in prestigious journals.
So you have to constantly be putting out research.
Pretty much. And it's not just the quantity of publications, it's the quality, too.
Makes sense.
Where you publish matters.
So there's like a hierarchy of journals?
There is.
Yeah.
And getting your work into the top tier ones,
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Okay, I get it.
It's competitive, to say the least.
You mentioned tenure earlier.
I did.
For those of us outside academia,
Yeah.
what does that actually mean?
So tenure is essentially a permanent job contract.
Oh, okay.
It gives professors academic freedom.
So they can research what they want.
Exactly. And it provides job security.
Okay, that makes sense.
But getting tenure, that's a whole other challenge.
How so?
It's incredibly competitive.
Even more so than the grants.
In a different way, yeah. Tenure decisions are based on a lot of factors.
Like what?
Research, publications, of course,
Right.
teaching performance,
Makes sense.
service to the university.
Oh, so all the committees and extra stuff
Exactly. And for a lot of professors, it feels like a constant race
to get tenure.
to tick all the boxes,
Wow.
to prove themselves worthy.
Okay, so we've talked about funding,
We have,
the pressure to publish,
right?
tenure track.
All big challenges.
Now, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about the students.
The students, yeah.
How are professors adapting to the changing needs and demographics of today's students?
It's an ongoing process.
Okay.
For one thing, student bodies are more diverse than ever.
More diverse. How so?
We're seeing a wider range of learning styles,
Okay.
different backgrounds, different needs.
So how are professors handling that?
They're trying to be more inclusive, more responsive.
Give me some examples.
Well, there's universal design for learning,
Okay, I've heard that term.
but I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Could you break that down a bit?
Sure, it's a framework that encourages professors
Yeah.
to create learning environments that are accessible to everyone
From the start.
from the get-go.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, for example,
Yeah.
providing course materials in multiple formats.
Okay, like text, audio, video,
Exactly, to cater to different learning preferences.
and abilities, right?
Absolutely. Or offering flexible assignment options.
Oh, interesting.
So students can demonstrate their understanding
Yeah,
in different ways.
I see. So it's about giving them choices.
It is. It's about recognizing that one size fits all doesn't work in education.
And it probably never did, right?
Probably not.
It's just more apparent now.
Exactly.
This is all really fascinating. It's amazing to see how professors are adapting.
They are. They're doing amazing work.
But I got to imagine technology plays a big role in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. Technology is transforming education. There's no doubt about it.
In what ways?
We have online learning platforms.
Yeah. Virtual reality simulations.
Wow.
Interactive software. It's incredible.
Sounds like a lot to keep up with.
It is. But it's also a balancing act, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, there's the issue of equitable access.
To technology.
Yeah. Not all students have the same resources.
Right, the digital divide.
That's a real barrier for some students.
And then there's the challenge of staying current with all the new tech.
Oh, yeah.
It's constantly changing.
New tools and platforms pop up all the time.
So professors have to be learning all the time, too.
They do. It's part of the job now.
Okay, so we've talked about funding, the pressure to publish, evolving student needs, and technology.
It's a lot to think about.
There's one more thing I want to touch on.
What's that?
The well-being of the professors themselves.
Ah, yes. That's important.
All this pressure, it must take a toll.
It does.
What are we seeing there?
Well, the good news is
Okay,
mental health awareness is growing within academia.
it's good to hear.
Universities are starting to offer more support. Like what kind of support?
Counseling services, for
Right.
one.
Makes sense.
Stress reduction workshops.
Okay.
Peer support groups.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even things like mindfulness training specifically for faculty.
Wow, that's great.
It's a recognition that professors are human beings, too.
Yeah, they need support too.
Exactly.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Funding, workload, student needs, technology, mental health. A whirlwind tour of higher education challenges.
What's a key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think it's clear that the challenges in higher education are significant.
They are.
They're complex,
Uh-huh.
but I also think they're opportunities.
Opportunities. How so?
Because as we move forward,
Yeah.
we need to find innovative solutions
Okay.
to support professors,
Help them thrive.
to ensure that higher education remains a vibrant and vital force.
That's a great point. And for anyone listening who's intrigued by all this,
Yeah.
who's thinking about exploring career opportunities in higher ed.
Yeah, especially in research and science. You might want to check out academicjobs.com.
Oh, good resource.
They list positions across tons of different specialties. So yeah, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been really eye-opening. Until next time,